So I'm Cassie Walliser. I'm a strategy director at Complete College America, and I work with our Complete College Accelerator project. My colleague Nia Heidel, who also serves as the lead for this project, will be joining us momentarily, and she will introduce herself as well. But we just want to say a huge thank you for your interest in this project. I know I had some conversations with some of you at our annual convening last week. And some of you went back and talked to your institutions as well and your colleagues, and so I appreciate the interest. Today we will go over we'll just do like a really quick introduction to who CCA is if you're unfamiliar with us as an organization. We'll go over some of the project details and then what you can expect for a rough timeline, kind of what we're thinking with the project moving forward, and then next steps as well. Nia, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, Nia Heidel. I am the Vice President for Institutional Transformation and Scaling. I'm at CCA, and I get to work with the team on implementing strategies nationally with our alliance members and serve as the lead for this project, along with Cassie and the rest of the team. Thank you.
Thank you. So here are some of the other team members that you may know from your interactions with CCA who work on this project. We've got Missy Fairfax, who's another one of our strategy director, Brittany Gossima, who's our administrative assistant, and then Nicholas Hewitt, who's our assistant vice president for institutional transformation. And so CCA, Complete College America, is a national nonprofit dedicated to improving college completion rates. And I put up our mission here. I'm not going to read it to you verbatim, but I do want to point out a couple of things. The first is, of course, we are all about increasing college completion rates. There are 41 million Americans with some college and no degree, and that is a problem. And our 4-year and 6-year graduation rates nationally for 4-year institutions are far too low, as well as our 2-year and 3-year graduation rates at the community college level. So we are all about making sure that the promise of higher education for those who start is realized. We are also all about in closing institutional performance gaps. And we use that language very intentionally. We really believe that our institutions of higher education, for the most part in America, were not built for today's students or inclusive of all of today's students. And we believe that it is important for institutions to be student ready and to be accessible to our student population, and expect ourselves as institutions and an industry to make that shift, as opposed to putting the burden of responsibility on the student. So that's why we use that specific language as opposed to something like equity gaps or academic gaps or readiness gaps or things like that. So we do our work through a large national alliance of 53 members, and that is 44 state members and 9 consortia. And you can see that here. And so being a member of the CCA Alliance comes at no cost. All of you on this call are already members of the CCA Alliance. So thank you. And our CCA Alliance is really how we push out all of our movement building, our institutional transformation work, and how we leverage our large national network to keep this work moving forward. So we do this work really through 2 ways. The first is building movements, which means engaging our alliance to rally around a shared vision for college completion. And the second is through transforming institutions. And so we work at the institutional level with different projects like the CCA Accelerator to support institutions in becoming more prepared and for today's learners and using data-driven strategies to improve college completion rates. So our theory of change is really that we believe if we can inform and influence policy, perspective, and practice in higher education, then we can drive behavioral changes, data usage, and policy change, which will lead to increase in college completion rates and the elimination of institutional performance gaps. So we do take a systems approach. We do work through policy, which can happen at the institutional, state, and federal level. And we do this to accelerate change and remove barriers. We do work through perspective, which is really challenging assumptions and changing mindsets around what's worked before, what is a myth, and what the data really tells us works for college completion. And then we do this through practice, which is, again, helping our institutions reframe and rebuild around the student experience. So this project through Complete College Accelerator is really focused on that practice component and the way that we are moving towards helping institutions transform for increased college completion. And this is part of a bigger initiative called Intermediaries for Scale, which is funded through the Gates Foundation. And it is the largest single investment that the Gates Foundation has made in their higher education portfolio to date. So they are investing $100 million across 6 intermediary organizations, of which CCA is one, to transform over 200 institutions. And we like this project because it has a long runway. So it started in 2022. It goes through the end of 2027. And so it gives you some significant time as an institution to do some assessment, to create an action plan, do some implementation, reassess, and then refine. So it gives you a significant time as opposed to a shorter project that might just give you some basic information to get started, do some changes, and then funding runs out before you can really go through that refinement process. So through the CCA Accelerator, I mentioned that the Intermediaries for Scale Larger Umbrella Project is working with over 200 institutions, and we are one of 6 intermediaries. But we are actually working with over 100 of those 200 institutions. And we do this work with our state partners through a state cohort model. So you can see that right now we've got 15 state partners, and we're looking to add more and hopefully get close to 20. And we leverage our state work to create cohorts across our states. So roughly 4 to 8 institutions within each state cohort. Our institutions in this project are 2-year institutions, 4-year institutions, HBCUs, PBCCs, HSIs, tribal colleges, PWIs, really all of the different types of institutions across the nation, which creates a really robust national network as well for sharing learnings and best practices. So I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint momentarily and show you a video, a 3-minute video that we've developed that really explains how the project operates.
Students look to colleges and universities for the promise of a successful future. And these institutions work hard to fulfill this promise. But the reality is, there are gaps when it comes to earning a degree or certificate, especially for groups who have been historically excluded from higher education. Improving student success takes time and a lot of data, and it looks different at every college. And that's what makes the Complete College America Accelerator unique. We'll work long-term alongside the teams serving students at colleges and universities to empower change at the core of an institution to support student success. Complete College America is already working with multiple states and nearly 100 colleges and universities to implement life-changing strategies. The CCA Accelerator continuously utilizes institutional data to inform decisions over 3 phases. Before we even begin, the top leader at the college or university signs a commitment to do the work of the accelerator. Then, an accelerator team is identified and established from within the college, so we can work together to assess current initiatives that support student success. The goal is to assess areas of opportunity and, just as importantly, identify areas of strength. We call this our Institutional Transformation Assessment, or ITA. The ITA framework reflects the many levels that support student success, which is always at the center. We start at ground level. How is the institution positioned to assist students as they choose and commit to pathways that bring them from enrollment to completion? At a broader level, we assess if the institution has practices in place that cultivate student success. These policies and practices are made possible by an institution's operating capacities. How effective is an institution at utilizing research and data and providing tools and information related to student success? Utilizing state and institutional policy to empower student success efforts? Or allocating people and monetary resources in support of student success? Once a baseline of the institution's existing efforts, strengths, and opportunities has been established, the CCA Accelerator gathers the campus's student success community to reflect on the results of the ITA. This is a collaborative process where we discuss critical insights and look for opportunities to support institutional growth. The end result is a unique action plan. The final phase is implementation. While continuously analyzing the data, we refine the plan, identify what resources are needed, and secure any necessary experts, tools, and networks. After 2 years of continuous work, we review campus perceptions of progress to reassess and refine. The ultimate goal is sustainable student success outcomes, change that becomes part of the fabric of the college and lasts beyond any one leader or initiative. Institutions that participate in the Complete College America Accelerator can showcase a readiness for big initiatives on a national level and connect with like-minded institutions in our network. Most importantly, we can improve equitable outcomes and uphold that educational and economic promise of higher education for all students.
So that's just a 3-minute video snippet that we've developed to give you a very quick overview of what the project entails. We will include a link in the post materials. There might be like one small little tweak here and there that we are making yet. We just unveiled it last week. So you're welcome to share with your institutions and system colleagues. But let's not that you would, but let's not share it too widely yet. So the project goals are really to engage select institutions in a continuous improvement process that leads towards institutional transformation. And I want to just demystify what we mean by institutional transformation a little bit, because when I go to campuses and talk about this, if we don't, I want to make sure that it's clear that we know you are already doing really great things on your campuses and in your systems. And so what we mean by institutional transformation is really creating a culture around student success and being nimble to the needs of students to ensure that college completion is front of mind. It is not about coming in and totally restarting all the great work you're doing. It is meant to accelerate it, which is why we named it the Complete College Accelerator. So the second goal is to provide institutions with critical insight regarding opportunities for institutional growth. And so we do that first through the institutional transformation assessment that the video talked about a little bit, but we also do it through some of the data work that we will do, as well as leveraging your state cohort network and the national network, so that we are not just doing a pre-assessment, but providing you with critical insights for learnings throughout the 3 years of the project. And then the third goal is to partner with institutional leaders and identify what are those game-changing strategies that will work for you on your campus and help you meet your completion goals. So that we are not taking a one-size-fits-all approach to this, and we will work with you to make sure that what we are helping you accomplish makes sense for your institution and your student population. So I briefly mentioned the data capacity component as well. So it's pretty much impossible to do the institutional transformation work and implement the strategy work without consideration for data and data-driven campus culture. So through the data capacity component of the project, we are asking all of our institutions to onboard to the Post-Secondary Data Partnership, which is a platform through the National Student Clearinghouse. That gives you insights well beyond what some other national data systems do. We will assist you with conducting an institutional audit on your current data landscape. We will provide support for the PDP to help you not just onboard, but use it and maximize it on your campus for creating that data-driven culture. And then provide professional development to build internal data capacity building so that we are giving you the tools, we are helping you democratize data on your campus in the way that makes the most sense. And we are giving everybody not just the technology, but the knowledge to be able to do it. So it's really a three-phase process. The first phase is creating the conditions for institutional transformation. So this involves identifying an institutional lead for the project who should be someone who is in a senior leadership position around student success and who can really move the work forward. And then creating a core team so that you have about 4 to 6 individuals on your campus leading the work forward. We also are working with our institutions now on ensuring that they have a clear definition of what student success really means for them on their campus. And we will provide you with a service to help you really refine that definition or develop it if you don't have one yet, and socialize it so that it becomes institutionalized. Because without that North Star that your campus really understands and sees how their work connects to it, it becomes difficult for everybody to be moving forward in the same direction for the same goals. And then we will also do some change management planning with your lead and core team to not only give you the tools to be successful, but also the change management component, right? Which we know is critical for sustaining any sort of lasting change. The second phase is engaging the campus leadership to create a plan. And so this is where we administer the institutional transformation assessment. And then we actually come to campus for a day-long convening with campus student success leaders to really generate some excitement for the project and buy-in, but make meaning of those ITA results. That will culminate in some action planning after our campus visit. And then the third phase is implementing and refining the plan. So we will finalize those institutional priorities for you that you identified through your sense-making visit and your action planning. We want these to overlay what you are already working towards in your strategic plan or your QEP so that it doesn't seem like just another initiative or like an extra. We want to embed it in the work that you're already working towards. We'll provide you with technical assistance to support the implementation, and then we will work with you to assess and refine. So benefits to participating, we really see 5 of them, and the video covered them very briefly. But the first, of course, is improving your outcomes for student success. The 11 areas in the institutional transformation assessment that we are using in this project, we know are evidence-based levers for improving equitable student outcomes. The second benefit is developing partnership with peers committed to the same work. And we have seen this with our existing state cohorts already in the project as we move through the first year and a half of the work. We've seen across the states that we're working with stronger connections across institutions. We've worked with our state partners to find areas of alignment within their institutions and leverage it to do greater work at the state level. And then we also use our convening power to bring folks together in person or through virtual modalities to get you connected with others who are doing similar work that might be outside of your state. One example I like to give is, a technical college in South Carolina may think to talk with their peers in South Carolina about pathways or questions, but they may never realize that somebody at a community college in the state of Washington is also facing similar questions and has similar student populations. We also are able to provide real on-the-ground technical assistance to you. We know that resources are scarce, that people power is limited, and we bring in our network of national experts, both CCA's network and across the Intermediaries for Scale project to give you real support for doing this work. The fourth benefit is that this really does establish a foundation for future initiatives for you on your campus, within your system, but also for us at CCA. When we're looking at future projects and talking with funders about future projects, we can say, hey, we worked with this institution in a project before, and they are really ready and really committed to improving college completion on their campus. And then the fifth one is that we can use our national platform to amplify your institution's best practices and what you're doing on the ground to support college completion. And we can do that through our blog, our podcast, our newsletters, our national convening. We can do that in conversations we are having at the state level, the federal level, within the philanthropy community. We can do case studies. We want to put a call out in our future publications about what you're doing. And so being a part of a project like this with CCA really does put your institution on the map. And we know that in this world of student success, and specifically in philanthropy, success begets success, right? And so there's a real benefit here to amplifying your institution's best practices. So I just want to very quickly share with you some of the work that we've been able to do so far within the project. As you saw on an earlier slide, we currently have 15 state partners, state cohorts with about 80 institutions, and we're scaling up to 100 right now. So we've already, that number says 71 institutions are signed on. Right before this meeting, I got a message we're up to 74. We've been to 64 different campuses to implement the institutional transformation and conduct their day-long campus sense-making visit. We've had over 6,400 student success professionals and higher ed professionals across the country complete the institutional transformation assessment, and 1,800 individuals have attended those day-long sense-making campus visits. We've got close to 70 of our institutions already on the post-secondary data partnership. We've done 9 statewide data days events where we work on data capacity. We've done all of those in this calendar year. We've got 77 institutions and state agencies who've attended those data days with over 250 attendees. And in terms of technical assistance and the service design and delivery aspect, we've got 47 contracts that have been signed with a total of 147 institutions, which does include duplicates. So as you can see, we really are moving forward to provide the support on the ground for institutions. And then we also include institutional engagement as a key and building that community and that network of support as a key aspect of this project. And as you can see, we do this through some informal networking series that we did this summer. We do monthly webinars. We have a monthly newsletter. And in 2025, we will be standing up some communities of practice as well. So for the application process, we do currently have an RFP link out. It is a pretty tight timeline. So thank you for getting on the call during a busy period of the year and the holidays. Our RFP is due December 6th. We need MOUs signed by the end of the year. And we need to get those to our funder by the end of the year. So it says December 23rd here, but sooner is much better. In January or February, we will do a launch meeting with our new cohorts, and then we will begin the defining student success and change management services to get you ready to administer your ITA probably sometime late winter, early spring. It'll depend on your state cohorts, readiness, and what makes sense for you all, and how we are able to space that out internally as well. So that's a little bit about the project and our process moving forward. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and open it up for questions and anything else that my colleagues would like to add. Yeah, Mike.
Good morning. Thank you for the presentation. I'm in New Mexico, and I know that there are a number of colleges that already started this work.
Yep.
If we were selected, we join them, or would we be part of the next cohort, or would we? How would that work?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we are excited that there are more institutions in New Mexico, and we are excited to be able to bring them on board. We would we would still get you connected with the existing New Mexico State cohort, and it would be like one big cohort. And so even before that you were able to do your institutional transformation assessment, create your action plan, we would get you connected with the work being done with those other institutions. So we're doing that right now with a couple other institutions across other cohorts. And they reported, being a little bit concerned about how that would work, but now that they're seeing it, they feel like it's a pretty seamless process for them.
So we would actually officially be part of that. And we would just kind of catch up, if you will, to
Yep,
them.
exactly.
Okay,
Yep,
great, thanks.
exactly. Yep. And once your MOU is signed, we consider you like in the project. So, and Mike, could you remind me, which institution are you with?
The University of New Mexico, Los Alamos.
Oh, great, great. Other questions?
Cassie, since there aren't any questions, can I just talk a little bit more about the cohort and why we do it that way?
Yes, please.
Um, so with the cohorts, the reason why we decide to organize that way, a couple of reasons. One is the way CCA typically does our work is state-based work, and we do it that way so that we can really pay attention to things that are happening in the state along policy and general practice and culture, because things happen usually across the state, whether it's private or public, it usually impacts them. And the reason why we want a cohort in particular, instead of having like one like singular institutions by themselves, is because we want to leverage the relationships that can happen in the state. So Cassie referenced the benefit of the big cohort is that we're able to connect you to people all over the country who may be experiencing same things or learning different things or trying the same types of project, and you have a different type of perspective. Similarly, it's really good to have people who are, a couple of hours away that you might be able to partner with, whether it's on a program or an activity, or share resources and people. And so that's why our focus is to have at least 4 institutions if possible in the state, so you have some community in your local area. And we have helped facilitate that in some ways. If we're looking, if someone like if there are a couple of institutions who don't have the 4, but it's helpful, especially with this tight timeline, that you have like 3 of your closest friends at least come in and we work together. And it doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing. So there are some things that are common, like the data work is common, with nuances based on your campus, but you will do things that are specific to your institution, just like collectively. We like to just kind of build a community in the state.
Thanks, Nia. And I can give a couple examples of how that's played out so far. And New Mexico is actually a great example, because student basic needs is such a high priority and has so much momentum within the state. All of the institutions in the project are choosing to focus on student basic needs and emergency aid. And we're able to leverage what we're learning across the cohort to further the work across the state and other institutions as well. And then in the state of Wisconsin, one of the themes that came up is that all of the institutions wanted to work on advising, and we're really interested in doing more work around advising assessment. So we are now able to do some work at the state and system level to do some work around advising assessment.
So there's a question in the chat. So the coaches are assigned really by state. So what we like to have, and the coach can be either someone from CCA, or it might be someone, a content expert or a CCA fellow that we're working with. And their role is to really stay connected with the institutions to make sure that the work is moving, to answer questions that we have, and to check in around the different initiatives that institutions have committed to participating in. And technical assistance is also provided it's a dual process. So it's provided by cohort in the sense that we'll have probably usually around 5 institutions who are working on the same area. And there'll be some opportunities for shared learning, professional development, where you're really learning about, like I call it like knowledge transfer, knowledge acquisition. So you're learning about whatever the topic is and building internal capacity around the knowledge base. And then it breaks off to specific technical assistance per institution so that you'll have coaching time from the technical assistance provider, which is in addition to the CCA person or the coach for the state. So the technical assistance provider will then walk through the process with you to make sure you're able to implement the information that you learn through the professional development process. And we handle all contracts, all of that process is handled internally by CCA. You're welcome. Can you all put in the chat what institutions you're from? I know we have a registration sheet, but it would just be helpful. And do you all already have institutions in your that you could have for a cohort, or are you here solo and then looking to help recruit people? All right. Does anybody have any other questions? We don't want to keep you if you don't have questions. And if you have a question that's specific to your institution, we'll stay on and we can answer those separately.
And I'll put our project email in the chat as well as our individual emails, and then you can also reach out individually if something comes up.
So Joshua, to your point around whether or not to commit to another initiative, I think that's a really important thing to explore. What we try to do is look at the things that you're already doing and identify ways that this project can overlap or complement. So if you have, for instance, as a system, I pick on advising, I select advising because it's an easy one to use as an example. So if as a system, you are you are updating or changing your advising structure. So you have things happening with that. So what we could do is look at, okay, what services and technical assistance do we have in relation to advising that might complement the work that you're doing or supplement the work the pieces that you can't address in your current project that we can fill in the gaps. So there is a concerted effort to make sure that it doesn't become just another thing and that we're integrating it with accreditation processes, retention plans, strategic plans, and those types of things. Now it is more work, but I think that we're able to, accelerate some of the things that are already happening or in motion with this project.
Yes, I'll put it in the chat.
So if there aren't any other questions, that's everything from us, right, Cassie?
That's everything, and we will send out a follow-up email with a link to the recording, as well as information about the next steps.
And we'll hang on in case anybody has some specific questions that they wanted us to answer. So thank y'all and have a happy holiday.
Thank you all so much.